This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. With free weekly content and free shipping over $100, you can save 5% site-wide by using the promo code MTGMudsta. I'm also sponsored by Face to Face Games, Canada's premier Magic the Gathering store. Using the promo code MTGMudsta will get you 5% off site-wide, with eligible orders getting free shipping Canada-wide. If you're looking for a direct way to help the channel, please consider joining my Patreon and becoming a member of the Generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, just so you know, the Folio Portfolio number 2 is now available on Kickstarter. With sweet art like Sylvan Tutor, Chaos Warp, Bottle Gnomes, Infernal Darkness, Orcish Librarian, and Puzzle Box, there's sure to be something for everyone. It's running until October 18th, and be sure to use my affiliate link down below in the description when backing this project. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game has Max playing Kamiz, which is an Esper deck focused around attacking and making things unblockable. MJ is playing Toulouse, which is just all about discarding and forcing his opponents to discard, while Nick is playing Hamza, which cares about +1/+1 counters. Last but not least, I'm playing Phenax, and I'm just going to mill out my opponents. MJ wins the die roll and starts us off. They draw and play a tap Godless Shrine. I play an island. Nick plays a command tower. Max draws, playing a tapped Creeping Tar Pit. MJ has a Marsh Flats and sacrifices it, losing 1 for Rafine's Tower. I play a Gaia Reach Sanitarium and cast Scuttle Tide before passing. Nick draws, plays a Forest, and casts a Scrounging Bandar. Max just has an island and passes to MJ. MJ plays a Plains and has enough for Toulouse. As their commander enters, they discard Kaya Ghost Assassin, getting a +1/+1 counter on Toulouse from Connive, and exiles the card. I play a Drowned Catacomb, and then pay 2 life to cast a Phyrexian Metamorph. I have it come in as a copy of Toulouse, and Connive as well, discarding Void Winnower under it. After that, I pass to Nick. Nick plays a Plains. Max draws, plays a Swamp, and casts a Nadir Kraken before passing. MJ draws and plays their own Gaia Reach Sanitarium, and then casts an Azorius Signet. Moving to combat, they swing Toulouse at Max for 4, who takes the hit and pass. I draw and play an island. I cast Dimir Keyruin, and then go to combat, swinging my copy of Toulouse at MJ, and also deal 4. Nick draws, plays a Forest, and casts Feldar Retreat. Max draws and pays for the Nadir Kraken trigger, putting a counter onto it and making a Kraken. He then casts Rafine Scheming Seer, and moving to combat, swings the Kraken at MJ. This gets him a Connive trigger, and he discards Stolen Identity, hitting MJ for 4. MJ draws and casts an Archfiend of Ifnir. They then pass, and during their end step, I activate Scuttle Tide, discarding Sheoldred to make a Crab token. I draw and play Urborg, and then cast Court of Cunning. I become the Monarch and pass, drawing during my end step. Nick draws and plays a Plains, making a Cat token with Feldar Retreat. He then casts Alharu Solemn Ritualist, putting a +1/+1 counter onto the Cat token and the Scrounging Bandar. After that, he passes, and on his end step, I use Rapid Hybridization and target Ravine, paying for the ward. Max draws and pays for the Kraken again. He casts an Arcane Signet, and then pays 2 life to cast his own Phyrexian Metamorph, also as a copy of Toulouse. Going to combat, he swings his Nadir Kraken at me, and I jump with the Crab, and he passes turn. MJ draws and casts Migrim, and immediately follows up with a Windfall. We all discard our hands and take the appropriate amount of damage from Migrim, and draw 6 cards, with Max, MJ, and my cards getting exiled under our respective Toulouses. The Archfiend of Ifnir also triggers, which wipes the board except for the Nadir Kraken, so we all get back our cards from Toulouse. Going to combat, MJ then swings 9 at me, and after connecting, passes, drawing a card from the newly claimed Monarchy. On my upkeep, each opponent mills 2, and I then draw a card. I play an Underground River, and casts Shoulder It before passing to Nick. Nick draws and casts Experiment 1, and then Mikaeus the Lunarch, putting 3 into the X. He then passes to Max. Max draws and declines to pay for the Kraken. He casts a Dimir Signet and swings the Nadir Kraken at MJ for the Monarchy. After that, he casts a Nightmare Unmaking to exile the board and passes. MJ draws and plays a Swamp. They cast Grimoire of the Dead and then Oppression and pass. My opponents mill 2 on my upkeep and I draw for turn. I play Temple of Deceit, scrying 1 to the bottom, and follow up Diluvian Primordial, discarding a land and taking 2 from Megrim. I cast Stolen Identity from Max's graveyard, discarding a card and taking 2, and use it to copy the Primordial. The copy then casts Whispering Madness, forcing me to discard a card and deal another 2, and we each then discard our hands and draw a fresh 7. Before this resolves though, MJ discards a card to the Grimoire in response to put a counter onto it. Everyone then takes a big chunk of damage from Megrim except for MJ, and I pass to Nick. Nick plays a Knight of Autumn, discarding a card and taking 2 off of Megrim. The Knight then comes in and destroys Oppression, and Nick follows it up with a Soul Ring and then a Plains. He makes a cat token from the Feldar trigger, and then casts Fertilid and passes to Max. Max draws and plays a Rogue's Passage. He then casts Thief of Sanity and Felwar Stone. He finishes things off by casting Kamiz and passes, drawing from being the Monarch. MJ draws and plays a Command Tower. They cast their own Soul Ring and a Drake Haven, and then cast a Supreme Verdict to wipe the board. MJ then finishes off with an Anvil of Bogarden and passes to me. My opponents mill 2 on my upkeep from the court, and I draw 2 and discard 1 to the Anvil, taking 2. I then play an Altar of the Brood and a Clearwater Pathway, milling everyone for 1. I then play my own Soul Ring, milling everyone for 1 again, and then a Talisman of Dominance, milling yet another card. I follow up the Phyrexian Reclamation, milling for 1 more, and then cast a Treasure Cruise, drawing 3 and passing. Nick draws 2 and discards 1, taking 2 from Megrim. He plays a Plains and makes a cat token. He then taps enough for the Scourging Bandar again, an Aquastrand Spider, and a Verdant Gearhulk, putting 3+1/+1 counters onto the Gearhulk and 1 on the cat. After that, he passes to Max. Max draws his 2 and discards 1, taking 2. He plays a Swamp and casts Smuggler's Share and then recasts Kamiz. MJ draws their 2 and discards 1, paying 1 to make a Drake token. They then cast Nezahal, Primal Tide, and Narset, Parter of Veils. They then pass for turn, with Max drawing on their end step from the Smuggler's Share. I mill everyone for 2 on my upkeep, and draw 1 and discard 1 because of the Narset and Anvil combo. I take 2 as well, and in my main phase, play a Swamp. I cast Dragonlord Silumgar, milling everyone and stealing Nezahal, and pass. Nick draws and discards, taking 2, and then plays out Hamza. Going to combat, he swings out at Narset, and MJ discards a Davriel to the Grimoire, paying 1 to make a Drake. They realize they have no profitable blocks though, and let Narset get taken out. After that, Nick passes. Max draws 2 and discards 1, taking 2. He plays a Sun Titan, bringing back Phantasmal Image as another copy of Sun Titan, which brings back the Quietus Spike. He equips the Spike to Kamiz, and goes to combat, swinging his commander at MJ and making it unblockable from the trigger. MJ then takes 2 and gets their life total halved, dropping to 14. Max then plays a command tower and passes. MJ draws 2 and discards 1, paying once more to make a Drake token. Moving to combat, they swing 2 Drakes at Max, and Max responds by casting Path to Exile on one of them. Max then takes 2, and after that, MJ passes. During their end step, I use Phyrexian Reclamation, losing 2, to bring back Voidwinter to my hand. I draw 2 and discard 1, and take 2. I then cast a Voidwinter, and MJ responds by countering it with a counterspell. I go to combat and swing Nezahal and Silumgard MJ, who chumps the dinosaur with a Drake. I follow up with a Wall of Stone Identity, copying a Drake token and tapping down MJ's, and then mill everyone for 1 for the alter trigger and pass. Nick moves a counter from the Scourging Bandar to Hamza, then draws 2 and discards 1, taking 2. He casts an Inspiring Call, drawing 5 and giving his creatures indestructible. Nick follows up by playing a Gavony Township, making a cat token, and then casts a Cathar's Crusade. He then casts a Cultivator of Blades, and with the Fabricate trigger, chooses to make servos instead of +1/+1 counters, which triggers the Cathar's Crusade to pump his board. Going to combat, he sends the Verdurous Gearhulk at me, Hamza and the Bandar at Max, and the Aquastan Spider and Cat token at MJ. This has MJ and I dying, while Max chumps the Commander with a Sun Titan clone and blocks the Bandar with the other. After that, Nick passes. Max draws and plays a Sword of Feast and Famine, equipping it to the Sun Titan. He then uses Rogue's Passage on Sun Titan and goes to combat. Max swings Kamiz and the Sun Titan to Nick, making Kamiz unblockable, but isn't able to give Sun Titan double strike thanks to his protection from black. The Sun Titan trigger gets back Phantasmal Image, which enters as a copy of the Verdurous Gearhulk, and puts 4 +1/+1 counters onto Kamiz. Nick then takes 15 damage, and loses half of his life rounded up, which takes him out and gives Max the win. Game review time. So once more, I am continually impressed by Kamiz. I think it's probably the Esper commander I would build if I was so inclined. But realistically, that also might be partly because I love Connive. I think it's a great mechanic, you're able to dig deep and keep the best cards you want, and it also works well with a Reanimator based package. MJ's Toulouse Clever Conductor deck was Esper pretty much I hate everyone at the table deck. They ran a lot of hate cards for hands, and casting Megrim before that Windfall was just absolutely brutal. I did take a lot of damage from casting the Whispering Madness, although I think it helped me more than it hindered me. My Phenax deck continues to be something I'm not entirely sure if I like or not. Milling is often hard to do against 3 other opponents, and I'm still struggling with whether I need to make it into a self-mill deck or just give up entirely. Nick's Hamza deck was Selesnya +1/+1 counters, and he seemed to struggle the most against MJ's Toulouse deck. There were a few turns where Nick didn't even have a hand, and the few times that he did draw a card, he had to immediately discard it thanks to the Anvil. That being said, I think he was in a better position to have attacked Max and MJ as opposed to MJ and I, to put himself into a position to win, because I don't think I had any good follow-ups for his next turn. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.